Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right! Episode 161 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Dan from Silver Screen in Nevada. Let's go!
Hey there, hot stuff.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo. What's happening? Just talked to you
ready.
fucking 6 minutes ago.
I know, and I missed you so hard since then. Yeah.
I think what people don't realize is that when we talk to each other during the week, we want to, like any friend would, be like, hey, what's going on? How's your feelings or whatever? And then as soon as we start, we say, no, shut up. Don't say anything. Because
Yeah,
when I talk to you now, it's real.
Yeah, you start telling a story, and I'm like, shh.
Yeah. Shh. Don't tell me. Strictly business on the phone.
Right.
So you said it was like 900 degrees there?
Yeah, like a solid, maybe not 900, but like 800 for sure.
Right. Like a mere 800 degrees.
Yeah. How about there?
Yeah, same. Surface of the sun. Plus it's on fire. So the air is just filled with smoke.
So what a week this has been. I'll just start this off on from my what happened, like the shit that went down over here at Short Dong.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, no internet, which means no phones also.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we had to cancel or whatever, reschedule this episode. Right. And they said it was going to be out for days, but it was on the next day. So that's good, right? Things worked out.
Yeah.
And so we were cool with it. Like it just worked out. I had gotten an email over the weekend that said, hey, we're resurfacing the whole parking lot. It's shut down on Wednesday and Thursday. So that happened. And we emailed and asked this church that was just like right down the street if we could park there. They said, yeah, cool. Help yourself. You can even come over here and use internet. We have offices. What do you need?
They're trying to fucking lure you in, dude.
They're awesome.
They're like, come on in, we'll do communion.
Yeah, it was really gracious of them. And so we did, like we used their lot. Then these guys show up on yesterday, to resurface this lot. And just let me tell you, these guys were fucking awesome. Like the badass motherfuckers on earth, like the baddest asses on earth. They just showed up.
Were they out there shirtless and fucking cut as fuck and just
practically
like muscles rippling out of their muscles?
No, think opposite of that. But they just got it done. Like I've never seen anything like this. They just show up, like they sped in here and like power slid in the
parking lot. Yeah.
And then jumped out, and they were working within 30 seconds, I would say, 10 of them. And they were like, I'll tell you what, this is a nasty job, resurfacing asphalt parking lots. They had like tar arms, like probably that I would say that if one of them quit working there, it would take a year to not have that tar on their body, like in face, because they're out there spraying, it's like with hoses, tar everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
And while he's doing it, like the asphalt's dumped and it's smoking, and he's got a cigarette, just hanging out in his mouth, and they're just badasses.
Yeah. They die at 35.
Yeah. And it was like 100 yesterday too, on top of it all.
Right.
But they were really nice.
Real men.
Like a couple times, one came like and just stood inside and said, hey, I'm going to cool off for just a minute. You mind? I'm like, shh, come on in. Yeah. What do you need? Got stuff
Got
here.
Him fired.
Yeah. It was really cool. Like there. So it's done. And then actually we showed up this morning and the parking lot was striped and all the concrete blocks were back there. And Katie, who was a shipping receiving manager, lives right down the street, and she was driving by and she said at night, at 10 o'clock at night, they had lights on the parking lot and they were striping it like at night.
They're badasses.
I want we should have just hired them all. You know what I mean?
Right. I like how we bitch and moan and be like, oh, our t-shirts didn't come in. And these guys are like fucking covered in tar and standing on hot asphalt.
It was gnarly, but I was super impressed. It looks beautiful. Like it's glorious. Somebody got here this morning, and when I pulled up, they were skating it. It was so smooth, and they were just like looking up at the sky. Just a smooth ride.
The next thing that happens is someone comes in with like their piece of shit jalopy and fucking the oil's dripping out of their car everywhere, and they park in your lot, and then some other kid's going to come in and graffiti all over, like draw a big dick and white spray paint in the middle of your parking lot.
A semi comes and like pulls a Yui, and then it all just
right,
like
tears it all up.
Yeah, probably. That'll be
That's
tomorrow.
what'll happen. Yeah.
So yeah, that happened. How about you? What's going on up there?
They're actually doing work out front here too. They're putting in drainage, but it's not exciting. It's just, whatever. But shop's great. Things are going good. We're getting that 4th of July slowdown, but other than that, things are nice. We've had a couple of people taking vacations. Been playing a lot of basketball during lunch, and Bill's going to give me a fresh haircut after this. So
okay,
yeah,
the Clippers, like a number 4 or 5, 6.
Yeah, I got my
7, 8.
What are they? Fucking my wall $20 hair clippers.
That's what I use every time.
Yeah, and he's going to give me a sick fade all the way around and trim my top and production manager and barber. So yeah.
What about down there?
Yeah, definitely. Like I bat wing it, I hold it out, and then he just shaves it down.
He goes like, it's like when on Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey, they're like filing down his toenails, and they put the wall down there, and it goes, and it gets stuck.
Yeah, it's just like that. I've had a really bad bleeding experience once, so I'm ready for it. Yeah, I thought I was going to die.
You want to tell that story, or
I legit thought I was going to die. I nicked a ball once, and I bled everywhere. Like blood all over the bathroom, like fucking massacre. And then I could not for the life of me get it to stop bleeding. And I like tried all these Band-Aids. I tried everything and it would not stop. So I finally just like somehow got it to stop bleeding enough to put a Band-Aid on to get it to like secure. And then the hard part was I had to go to bed, and I was terrified that the Band-Aid was going to fall off while I was in bed, and then I was just going to bleed to death.
You should have just tourniquet that shit.
Just put a heavy rubber band on my balls and wake up in the morning. They're black and ready to fall off.
I think next time you do that, next time it happens, do that.
Cool.
All right.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Today we flip-flopped. You know where our stock was in the far corner? I don't know if you remember. It was just far from shipping and receiving. Shipping and receiving is right there. Well, you can almost see it. Look at that.
Yeah, look at
see that. Do you remember how DTF? Yeah, so DTF was there, and it was crowded, and there was way more space over there. And then we brought stock back over here, where it should be. Like that's
right next to shipping.
If you're exactly like if you're ordering shirts, or if you're missing a shirt or whatever it is, you need to pull from stock. Well, there it is. It just makes sense. And we thought, like in my head, I'm like, man, that's a full day's project. This is going to take some time, but it was just half day.
Nice.
Finished by lunch, So
there's a good team there.
Yeah, we got it done.
We got that camp thing we're trying to do.
We have a camp.
Where are we at with that?
Well,
in real time for us right now, tickets go on sale tomorrow, July 1st.
Yep. Today's June 30th. Tomorrow is, can you believe tomorrow's July? What the hell?
I know, dude. Dude, tomorrow is my son's birthday. I officially have a teenager tomorrow.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well. Well, hey, I'm sorry, but it should be okay. Mine, I remember with mine, I don't know what teenager, 13, is that 7th or 6th? It's going to be in 7th
grade. He's going to be in 8th grade.
Oh, okay. Well, so he's already corrupt, basically. He's been a junior high for a year. Okay. Well, then it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, yesterday was like the first time, and it's funny because he's turning 13 tomorrow, but yesterday I took them to the pool during lunch, and it was like the first time I've ever seen him act like a teenager to the degree of like being a dickhead. Like normally he has like teenager-esque things of like the way he talks to his friends and whatever he does, but he's not really too much of an asshole. Yesterday he was just being a bully to his sister and he was like doing stuff. And then when I said, get over here, like I want to talk to you, I said something to him and he just turned and gave me a look and then like walked away. And then I straight up dad moved. I was like, don't you walk away from me. And like got him back and he just gave me this like stupid look or whatever. And I was like, dude, I was so pissed. And then, yeah, just the shit he was doing was just like, oh God, this is what life is going to be like now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but you're a good dad. You'll get it figured out.
Yeah. I mean, you can only beat him so much.
Right. Hand starts to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's stretch time. And you know what that means. Our stretch is brought to you by.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. We got a stretch now for Frank.
Yeah. That's right. I don't know what order to do this in yet because I think we need to do the button and then say that the stretch time. So
no, I'm going to stretch while I do it.
While you do
stretching today.
While you do this.
Yeah, don't touch it yet.
That's what she said.
Bring it in.
Let me know when you want me to touch it.
Now, anytime. As soon as you touch it, I'm on. Frank.
You were almost a little premature.
Yeah, it happens.
It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rag.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Hell yeah.
The world's best.
Somebody. So do you remember that story I told you where that dude was on a shop tour and I gave him a thin thread, a 158 thin thread? He messaged me yesterday and I don't know, I've got to read it. He said, Andy, I just wanted to say thank you so much for lending me that 156 thin thread screen. I finally got to use it today and oh my God. I can't wait to switch all of my screens over to thin thread. The underbase was so perfect. And just like you said, one stroke. Thank you again. And that was Sasha. And he has that brand, that shirt I showed you. You see that?
It's awesome.
No, is it blurry?
Yeah, I can see it.
So yeah, that was the print he did with it.
Stoked.
Mm-hmm. Don't be a moron. Just go get some thin thread. Yeah. Or if you don't like thin thread, whatever, just get screens from Frank even. He has both.
Worst case scenario, fucking buy some and try it out. Mm-hmm. You don't have to buy 900 of them. Just get a 6-pack.
Mm-hmm. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have Graphic Source. And if you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTSTUFF.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Nick Lucas.
At Graphics Source and let them run your business. And let them run your business. Yeah, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm. They do it well.
No, let them run your art department so you can focus on running your business.
Yep. We've been going back and forth for the last couple of days with Nick, and it's been really fun just to get that hot dog graphic.
The world's ultimate hype man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what his business cards should say is like Nick Wood, hype man.
It should just be fucking like club music. Like as soon as you pull that card out, it should just be like, oots, 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 and it should just be like fucking light show and shit.
Mm. He just makes you feel good, and you know what I mean. And that's rare out there in the world. So
really, truly,
I appreciate it. Dylan, choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids, or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru and get the answers you need.
Yep.
Look, if you're not using DTF or screen print transfers in your shop, then you are a
moron.
So we partnered with Howard Custom Transfers to get you the transfers you need fast. Check them out at howardct.com. I think that went well. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've ordered from Howard every day for the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every day we have more and more stuff that's coming in that people want transfers for.
That is fucking impressive. Like, seriously, you've ordered Howard every day for the last 2 days.
Like, if not 3 or more days.
Okay, because you said a couple days. You've like, I've ordered from them every day.
I just like place an order. I place an order thinking like, okay, that's the order for the week or whatever. And then the next day someone comes in and is like, hey, this customer wants toddler hoodies and baby onesies. And it's like a 5-color and whatever. And I'm like, well, transfers.
Transfer
So
that
we
shit.
order more transfers. And the next day it's like, oh, so-and-so wants to get 1,000 tags and whatever else. It's like, well, let me email Candy again.
I'm selling all my presses and just going to transfer. That's it. Like in my house or something, like in my garage. Seriously, it would be so much easier. We recording? I forgot.
I don't know. Are we? I like when you wear that white shirt. See your pokies through it. Oh, yeah.
Today's guest is from the great state of Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dan with Silver Screen. In Silver
Perfectly timed. Perfectly timed.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Dan.
Sorry about that.
Dan. What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, wonderful. We were talking about how it's about the surface or the temperature of the surface of the sun outside. Is that the case there in Nevada or what?
Yeah, it's like 80. Not too bad for summer. It can get up to 100 plus here. So
That's pretty good.
We got swamp coolers blowing everywhere and trying to keep cool, right?
Do you feel when I did some traveling in the South to a bunch of shops, I feel like that was a staple in every shop with the swamp coolers. Do you feel like they're actually like working really well for you, or is it just something that's kind of like taking the edge off?
Yeah, I wish obviously we could air condition this place, but taking the edge off. I mean, the swamp, the water really helps, and then we have big fans that operate up top, and then we open the vents, so try to get good airflow through the shop.
Right.
We have 5 big dryers, and those things create a lot of heat. That's for sure.
I'm assuming though in Nevada that it's dry, and it's not very humid, and so the swamp coolers don't add to the humidity. It actually probably works better in an environment like yours or a climate like yours is my guess.
Good point. Yeah, I definitely think so. We're at 4,300 feet and it's pretty dry. And down south in Houston, I could only imagine. Or down that way.
Yeah, I think the place I saw the most of them was in when I was in Tennessee. And I feel like every press had one like pointing at the loader and the puller. So I don't know. I just always wondered. I always thought about getting one here, but I didn't know if it would make much of a difference with my climate or not. But
the water's the key, right? I mean, the big fan is great, but getting the water in there really cools the air coming through.
Right. Yeah. So you kind of have a cool story. You had a life and a career before you acquired a print shop.
Yes, definitely. I'm a logistics guy. Most people don't know what that is, but ocean, air freight, custom brokerage, global operations. So worked my way up after college. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. I worked for Apple in Munich and I didn't like computers that much. And I'm kind of a small town guy. So, I found an industry. It's basically trucking, warehousing, those type of things. So, it was a good career for sure. I mean, I ended up being the CEO of some, fairly large companies, 100 million type, not super big, like, major corporations, but
100 million seems like a pretty good sized company.
Yeah. 1,000 employees, something like that. But the problem with the industry for me was that the travel is 70% overseas. So, it's just a destroyer of the family life and living in big cities. And I'm from a small town. So, I just got kind of burnt out. I was on a plane going to Dubai. The owners were I worked for private equity, the last company. And, I don't think private equity is bad, but it's all about the money, right? Employees and customers are kind of second fiddle to that. So I had a little bit of struggle with that, but mostly the travel. And I really wanted to get close to my hometown. Reno is about an hour outside of Colfax, California, which is 1,900 people. my mom's 83. And I told my wife, I just really want to slow down a little bit. And I really wanted to kind of get back to the entrepreneurial type of stuff and, focus on the employees and the customers and kind of have a little fun. And I thought I wasn't going to work as hard, but this is not an easy industry to cut back the hours. But at least I come home every night, right? And
how was that life? I mean, I know you said you were traveling and everything else, but like your day to day, was it kind of like, I don't know, what was that like compared to what it is now?
I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about a CEO, like they're the guy in charge. The truth is, CEO works for owners, and they can be pretty aggressive. And then the CEO's job is to, make the employees feel cared for, but make sure the ownership is being addressed in the way that they want to be addressed. And so sometimes that's just difficult. I definitely learned a lot about scaling. We supported production from manufacturers, things like that overseas. So, one of the things I was interested in this business is really getting into the production instead of supporting it. But, I definitely learned a lot in the industry for sure. It was good. But again, I also like the multicultural thing. I mean, that was pretty cool. My office was in Singapore, the last company, and developing a team in Singapore, dealing with the cultural aspects, the region. I had a European partner as well. So I really loved that part. When I was a kid, in a small town, I just thought I want to travel the world, and I got to. It was great. And I think, that is an added element of challenge for sure. I mean, there's no doubt, but, it's very fulfilling if you ask me. It was great. It really was.
Yeah. Coming from that world to this world, you said that you had some things that you kind of like brought from that, and you really wanted to be more hands-on. What was the company like before you took it on? It was a lot smaller, right? I mean, it wasn't small, but it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah, so I bought it 4 years ago in June. So, it's been 4 years. Unfortunately, 7-8 months right after I bought it, COVID hit, and we actually closed down, and then we opened up with 12 people. So, somebody said, would you have bought the company? And if you would have known, I said, no, that's a challenge. But the good news is that, I'm kind of a build it guy, and you just rebuild it just literally from scratch. But what I liked about the industry, and I've been on a few podcasts with you guys and also with Print Hustlers, and I think the industry, I heard a guy say, this isn't art, this is production. I thought that was a really good way to put it. I think it was a guy named from Social Imprints, Kevin McCracken. He was on Print Hustlers. And I think that's where the industry struggles a little bit. It is art and it's creative and all that, but at the end of the day, you got to push stuff out the door. It's really a sausage factory, and so that part of my training was really good for, I think, the company. But when I bought the company, I bought it from a guy who started in 2003. He wanted to reprioritize his family and things like that. But I saw some things that it wasn't super profitable, but it was good business for sure. But no swing shifts, kind of siloed employees in certain side. The printer was a printer, and a lot of things that I thought cross training and. We do a lot of labor sharing between departments. Obviously, we're I think at 92 people, something like that. I think there's efficiencies you can gain. I think speed is the game, right? So I really saw that the industry could be profitable. I also saw the employees were underpaid. I hear that a lot in the industry that you don't pay much in screen print, but I think it really comes down to the disciplines of the shop. We implemented. Full medical benefits and what I call market rates. That was a little difficult because you got to kind of catch up to yourself, right? But once we got there, I think once we got a really good paid. I think you guys understand that we call it a meritocracy here. So meaning that a yearly review is a long ways away for somebody on a press. So what we try to do is our schedules judge their performance every single day in regards to kills and up. We have 100% is obviously optimum, but if a printer's doing 80% as they're learning, they get paid a certain amount of money. As they grow in their performance, they're immediately rewarded with increases. And I think that culture here really helps. I implemented that because I thought these guys are working hard. I mean, it's not an easy business, and in my opinion, somebody should be paid for what they're worth, not. Meaning if somebody increases their value to the shop, I think you got to get with them really fast. I
agree. How do you collect that data? Is it you that collects all that data? And then does the team member know that if they hit a certain number, then that means that, their compensation is bonused or something like that? Like, how do you go about doing that? Did you write the software? Did you buy the software?
Like I said, there was some, buying this company was great because there's some really good processes in place. I think some of the reward versus scoring was a little bit too slow, in my opinion, but they all get their report card the next day. So, if they have a schedule, that schedule has got metrics built to it. So, how many screens, how many pieces, and we have basically met, to be honest with you, it's Excel spreadsheets, but it comes out of our system. And we just write those schedules. We give them an amount of time per job. It's a good process. And again, a new printer is not going to do 100%, but we have some that are over 100. And those printers are paid much higher than the ones below that. And they're scored, to answer your question, they're scored every single day.
How did you come about getting the preferred time per job? Did you guys just do that like an average over a period of time and say 4-color front, 2-color back, this many shirts should be this time? Or how did you come about those numbers?
Yeah, obviously setup is a big issue with a run, right? So we average about, I think we're at 170 a job. We do a lot of promo, sports, things like that. We're just strictly contract. So what we do is we look at how many screens, just exactly what you said, and it comes up with a math. For example, I think, I'm not the guy doing that, but I think it's 5 minutes a screen. I could be wrong, but meaning there's a metrics to every single step.
For setup, it's around 5 minutes a screen?
I think so. Yeah, I could be quoted wrong, but meaning there's math to every single job, right? It allows for that. So yeah, I mean, obviously a large job is going to require a lot more pieces than a small job. Our average setup, each pilot is about 7 jobs per day. Mm-hmm. But if he's running a 2 setup schedule, then obviously he's going to be required to do more. He or she's going to be required to do more pieces. And then obviously the performance, we document everything that was performed, and then we run metrics for them the next day.
Dylan, did you see that Excel spreadsheet from Custom Ink that was being passed around the other day? So it was sick. Like it could all be done in Excel. Like you just said, it looked really nice. I don't know who built it out, but it was built out pro. And it had a lot of the stuff that you just described, like each press or per day. And it actually had even dollar amounts that they were trying to hit, like the goals for the day and everything like that. And then everyone's name, like every single press operator, I guess press assistant's name. I think they were running a lot of manuals too, because the list was seemed like 50 people long or something. But it was really elaborate, and it would be so cool to track that and see that every single day. And like you said, compensate or bonus based on all that stuff, because I think that's one of the things that we're lacking here. Yeah, you're not rewarded for more output every day. And so we've never really thought about that. I don't think your shop does that either, Dylan. We kind of just come in and we're chill, and we have this is what's due, and we go through it, and everybody understands that, hey, we got to get this done. Yeah. But wouldn't it be great to actually have that sort of thing in place? I think it would be good. I hope it wouldn't backfire for some reason. There's got to be some sort of downside to it, but it seems like it would be great.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested in hearing, Dan, your story and how your mind is thinking about this from the CEO thing coming into this, because my approach to this whole thing since the beginning has been more the art form side. I got into it because I was into art and I was into music and all that stuff, and that came together and it worked. And then I'm not necessarily a business guy. I turned into a business guy because I have to be, because I'm an owner of a business and so on and so forth. But the more and more we grow, the more and more I see I need to meet both worlds at some together at some point. I can't just do the art thing forever. I have to learn some shit when it comes to business and the sausage factory and so on. So I think that's where this stuff comes into play. And that's where I've been taught. People who listen to the show know that for me over the last year or two has been a lot of grown up stuff. We've been in business for 15 years, but I'm getting to the point where I'm all right, I need more legit, HR and all this other stuff, and recording, the times of jobs and all this other stuff, so that we can figure things out more clearly and make it the business side of things more like cohesive and everything else. So do you feel like recording this info and having the presses, the operators write all this down and figure this out daily is like good for competition for them? Or is it like creating resentment where someone's slower than somebody and they're like, well, I'm never going to make what this guy makes because I just can't print as fast as that person or whatever?
Yeah, I think does it create some competition? The answer is yes. Hopefully that's healthy, right? But we also have captains on the floor that are there to help them and groom them. So our captains, managers are coaches here, and supervisors are captains. Just kind of a neat language that I stayed with. I thought it was pretty cool, probably from the sports side of things. But I think there's certain people that learn really, really fast and they get rewarded quickly. Some people learn slow, but they get there. Does that make sense? And so they shouldn't be discouraged for being slow. What I always say is that it's better to start out slow and learn your discipline than go real fast and kill a bunch of shirts, right? So I think it just has to be a positive environment. I think looking to say, hey, this printer's making X dollars and I can get there and I have support to get there is the key. You got to keep it positive for sure.
How does that scale work? Like what do they, is it just you review it after a X amount of month period and say, okay, you're worth this much more now? Or is it like a gradual thing?
Yeah, it's been a journey, by the way. All this stuff, if you ask me, if you say some background in it, I still, it's still a different industry and you have to kind of learn your DNA. I don't think there's one solution for all shops, but I do think, in my opinion, we struggled with saying, okay, well, let's do bonuses. But I find that getting their pay up is the most important thing for them. I mean, how do you do a bonus? And then you're doing a lot of scoring. So we really focused on the meritocracy idea and rewarding them quickly. So if I'm answering your question, it's kind of radical almost that I have two guys that we call the exec team, right? What I didn't mention as well, and I always want to mention these guys, when I came here, we have 4 people that have been here almost 15 years in the management team. So when I say a great purchase for me, I mean, you mentioned the art. It is art, and and it's really, really important to do your craft well. But I have that. That's a real blessing to have those guys. However, I think for me, sitting down every single week, and I think 1 week we did 6 increases, 1 week. So, is it $2 an hour? No, but is it 25 or 50 cents an hour? The answer is yes, and fast. So, recognizing them, the screen print is 62% of our business. So, our coach in screen print is bringing a lot of those, but I love to see them. I think that, the idea that we want to reward for progress is important. And I think that, not putting a timeline. Remember, I mentioned the guy that learns fast. I mean, we have a young gal. She's probably 5'2". She probably weighs, 90 pounds and 100 pounds. And I wouldn't have thought she would be as good as she is. But less than a year from now, she's one of our best printers. And she's one of our highest paid printers as well. So, I think we managed the morale aspect through the coaches and the encouragement that we want to pay more. We really want them to step up. But you have to have key metrics to that. You can't just say, well, we like you, right? Or, you always show up on time, which is great, but can you perform your job as well? And I think also, disciplines, do they call it, in this business, what I've learned is that, if people are not on time and they're not really trustworthy and they do a lot of call outs, that's going to be tough for us. So we really try to tell them, hey, your disciplines are part of the process as well. But that was going to be my other part of this question is, what do you do when you get somebody in the beginning who's eager and wants to prove themselves and does awesome and gets their numbers up and they get their pay up? Does it come down as well if their productivity starts to slack? Because there's definitely, I've seen that throughout the years, is I get people that are here 1, 2, 3 years, and then by year 4, we call it the printer's curse here, where they start to get like, over their head or busy or whatever. And then they think they're better than other people. And they just kind of are like, well, I'm not going to, this person is getting favoritism, so I'm just going to work slow and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do you cut it down then? Or is that like a meeting between your coaches or your captains or whatever? Yeah. In screen print, again, the most challenging. So, we do a point system through a payroll company called Paylocity. If they're late or they do what we call no call, no show, or, 2 hours before the shift, they get points for that. And those points can add up to a termination. I know it's not something you want to talk about, but that's really, really important for us. We haven't had what you just said. That's probably a good thing to bring up and a fear that I would have. But so far, so good.
So far, it's working out. Yeah.
I would say that what's important for a shop like, yours, Dylan, or mine, is that as we, let's call it, mature into having some of these things like tracking data and doing that sort of stuff, compensating, for bonuses and good, I guess performance is how you put it, is that we don't lose the culture we have or the vibe that we have, because I don't want it to be like you said earlier, Dan, where it's you were working for a private equity company and it's all about like the numbers and profits and less about the team. And I think that whatever we do, if we're going to add any of this stuff, we don't want to lose the fact that it's not for us anyway. It's not profit over team or profit over customers. It's the opposite of that. And so I think that's the balance that we'd have to maintain somehow, and probably would be the challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have a question about your just purchasing the business. I have a few, actually. Did you know anything about screen printing before you decided to buy this shop? That's my first question.
Nothing. No. It's something. I've got a buddy of mine said, "What were you thinking?" And I thought, well, but again, the leadership team that was here, I felt comfortable. They knew their disciplines pretty well, but I did not know anything. No.
How did you find it?
I was going to say, if you didn't know anything about it, like, how do you come about a screen printing shop and be like, yeah, I'll buy this?
Well, Reno's is perfect, by the way, for screen print regional. We had talked about that, but San Mar and SNS are right here, and I looked at that as a positive. I looked at Reno, obviously being close to my hometown, and I didn't want to live in California. If you guys know, taxes and cost of living are real high. So Nevada is a very business pro state. So I kind of focused on Reno, and I said, okay. And then I looked at the shop, and I looked at, and my guesses were right, with the garment manufacturer or wholesalers here, and with California having so much trouble. I think sometimes my theory about California is they're not too excited about screen printers or manufacturing or trucking or anything else. So I just thought to myself, I want to get close to home. This seems to be something that I can add value to. Seems like a good industry, and I thought, it was a local shop at the time. We've tripled in size, but I just looked at the outside of California, and I said, hey, I really want to become a regional provider. We also did things like promo items and buttons and glass and things, and I chased that right out of the building and said all things garment. Mm-hmm. And then we diversified into retailers. We're doing sports, promo, and then some big uniform companies as well. So, I just kind of looked at the whole thing and dove in and thought, I think I can make this work. And again, I found that I love the industry, which is funny because I didn't pick this industry. It kind of picked me, if that makes sense.
So how long was the time frame from you were interested in purchasing the shop and you put in, a letter of intent or something, to actually closing and having it be yours? What was that? How long did that take?
About 3 months.
Okay. And did you then afterwards, let's say you closed and it's now all of a sudden yours, did you go in front of the entire team there with the previous owner and say, okay, hey, by the way, I'm Dan and I just bought this shop? Or did they have any idea that it was going to be sold? Or, how did that kind of play out? I'm curious to how that worked.
Yeah, the seller, I would have done it different, but everybody makes their choices. He's a great guy, and he's still on board as a consultant. So, fantastic seller. One thing for sure is I really judged him first as far as his integrity and what he'd accomplished. And I think he did a great job. I always celebrate him for sure because he's half my success, if not more, right? But he was very private about the sale. I didn't like that part. So they kind of all of a sudden in early July, they had me sitting in a room with him, and and that's the first time that they knew about it. It was very difficult for sure because the business had been for so long with him owning it since 2003. If you rewind that, I told him right before when we were negotiating, I'd kind of get your people involved, but he felt hesitant to do that, which is his choice. So,
I guess you have to think about it though. If your team is involved and they know that you're actively marketing or trying to sell your company, how does that make them feel? Like, because they're probably like, oh, is my job secure? What's going on? And I know there are things you can do, like let's say within the contract, the sales contract, you can say like you can't terminate anyone for 6 months, or you can't terminate anyone for a year, or whatever that is, just to protect everyone's job. And so that you can maybe build into something that would be interesting, or would that way, I guess you could tell your team, look, we're going to sell this company, but your jobs are secure. Do you know what I mean? To get rid of that fear. Is that something that you considered, or did he?
Well, I did ask if he would make sure that he bonused the key players pretty well. And I did review that with him, because I just thought I want to make sure these guys have a check in their pocket when they meet me. And that was a negotiating part for me. But, I kind of bear the brunt of, talking about why I'm here, what I want to accomplish, and, spent a lot of time with the team. It was pretty rocky for the first 6 months for sure. And then COVID hit, right? That was a whole different piece as well. But at least I had those six months to really get to know everybody.
What did you do when that happened? I mean, I'm guessing you had to spend a sweet chunk of money to get this company and to get everything going. And then COVID comes. What's run through your mind?
Yeah, it was really tough in Nevada. The governor at the time was pretty aligned with Gavin Newsom. And so he decided, he called it essential, basically workers or companies could operate. We were not in that bucket. So we closed down for one day, and I brought some key players in, and we sat down, and then we went to a couple key customers that we do uniforms for road work and things like that. And we just defined ourselves as essential. Unfortunately, there was no business. So, basically 12 of us got together, and, I learned how to do a lot of things, that's for sure, which was, it's kind of fun. Also, when you buy a company, there's going to be some people that don't like the change. There's nothing you could do about it. You guys would run a company different than me, and it's just part of that. And I was in merger acquisition, so I was aware of that. It really did give us an opportunity. We furloughed everybody, and then we made sure that they had their insurance and all that. And then we brought back the players that we thought, over time were the best fit for the business. I think that was a benefit. And one of the things that was great about COVID for them was they got unemployment. If you remember, they also got $300 a week.
They got the extra, yeah.
I felt we made sure everybody got their unemployment. We did, coaching, we brought them in the conference room individually, and we made sure we helped them sign up for unemployment. Some people didn't get it, so we brought them back right away. We overstaffed and lost a lot of money. And like you said, it was a pretty scary time. Some of the government programs just fell into our lap, thank God. I mean, without those, it would have been extremely difficult to survive for sure.
And then post that, how are you feeling now? I mean, you're 4 years in. Do you feel like, you're happy with your decision, and you love being part of this industry now?
Yep. Yeah, I do. I really do. Yeah, it's one of the things, actually, the reason I'm on the podcast with you guys is that I feel like, I'm in the industry. I like it. I'd really like to, get to know some more folks, and, we've been a little lonely in Reno. As you know, it's a small town, and, a lot of y'all are in the Midwest and the East Coast, but, I kind of want to get deeper into the industry as far as kind of just networking and getting to know some folks. Nick Wood at GraphX was bugging me. He's like, Dan, you got to do this. I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. But yeah, I think for us, really trying to figure out where the industry is going, and networking and sharing ideas is good. I know some people try to keep everything secret in this industry, but I think it's better to share. And I like what you guys are doing. It's great because you're really helping the discipline in the industry grow. I don't think it's competitive in nature, really. I mean, we're all doing our own thing. There's enough uniqueness to each company, right?
What would you think? What would you think is something that you could offer that you would want to share that's not already being shared?
I would say the labor management's the biggest thing that we talked about meritocracy increases, but I see a lot of silos here where there was a lot of them. And again, sometimes when I speak, my staff look at me like I'm got three heads, because to me, there's not such thing as a discipline that you should learn and then just be stuck with. In my opinion, our job is to move people around, teach them more skills. We do reward them for that as well. So, it was like, well, we don't want to lose our best printer on red, right? And he does sports, and so he's the best. Make sure he sticks there. But I think, and we encourage what we call, cross training, and then labor sharing. That's just a word we use, but labor sharing means you move from one department to another. So you create a lot of efficiencies there. And also there's a lot of slow time in this industry. And I see, we guarantee 40 hours here. We've got full benefits and, it's just our DNA. But then that's real scary because what happens when screen printing gets busy? Well, the good news is embroidery goes nuts. We have 44 embroidery heads. So we cross-train those, and those people are paid higher as well. So if you're a quote cross-trained employee, then you're going to be more valuable to the company. You're obviously going to help the profitability, and we definitely reward for that as well. But I think, again, by the way, it's just my feeling. I don't know even if I'm correct in the statement, but at least here, I saw a lot of protection in regards to a skill, and that person, in my opinion, was stuck. I understand the reason for them being stuck, but I think that learning new things is great for the company and it's great for the employee as well. And it really helps profitability. I mean, our headcount, we judge every single day how much we bill. So it's 2 days behind, but we really focus on that as a management team. We look at our billing every single morning, which we did this morning, and we celebrate a good day and we don't celebrate a bad day. We also look at the end of the month, we look at how much we're producing per head. That's a corporate term. It doesn't sound very nice, but per employee. So right now we're trying to gun at 7,200 per head. And then go backwards and say, okay, how do we get billing up? How do we become more productive with those employees? And then you kind of navigate your way through that process of what I told you. We're really working hard on that. It's had great results. Again, a strictly business mind to production, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I think that I need to spend more time on that sort of stuff. You, Dylan, I mean, do you feel the same way? I mean, you said earlier that you were trying to get more business stuff, but I just, you like listening to you, it's really impressive because it's coming from an angle that I just don't have a whole lot of training.
We're not used to, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
it's great to hear.
That's the interesting part is that it's just like, there's many ways to do this industry. There's many ways for printers to just survive. Like there's the garage printer who is happy just doing what he's doing. And, they could be like, yeah, this is just what I want to do forever. I just want to print my local stuff in my garage and make money and go home and whatever. And then it goes all the way up to the people that have, 20, 30 autos and they're printing shirts too. It's just on a lot bigger scale. But there's also shops like mine that it's just like, I built a shop. It's doing really well. It's got a really good name. It's got a good brand. It's got whatever I need. I stay busy to, employ my, 12, 15 people, and I'm happy. Like everyone here goes home with 5 and we do our thing. And I want to stay at my 3 autos or whatever. But still it's so interesting to hear everybody's point of view and then pull in the stuff that makes sense for you that could just improve yourself. But I think your mind, Dan, is very like you said, like not to say it in a shitty way, but like the sausage factory, it's like, it is manufacturing. It is trying to get times better and get more productivity and all this other stuff. And it's like, that's just something I haven't really super thought too much about. But when we have a meeting with a manager or something, that's the first thing that always comes up is like, oh, so-and-so's dragging ass, or so-and-so always calls in, or like all this other stuff. And it's like, what would you use as advice to me to be like the first stepping stone or the second stepping stone to be like, all right, let's start to think about this more like manufacturing. And if you were to come into my shop, I say I hired you as a consultant. I said, help me get this place fucking whipped into shape when it comes to that kind of thing. What would be the first thing you would want to look at?
You'd be like, I can't help you. This thing is a fucking disaster.
Like, this is
well, the first thing you said is I think everybody's got their goals and there's nothing wrong with, being happy with where you're at. Right. So, everybody does their own thing. Obviously, I had a background and I felt that this company could take an important step forward. I think the first thing you have to do is get buy-in. You could talk. The first thing they're going to think is Dan's here to make a whole lot of money, and he doesn't care about us. Well, it's actually the inverse. I mean, I care about the employees very much, but I couldn't see how I could get their wages up, and I could really get them the benefits they needed, so on and so forth, unless we increase productivity. I hear a lot in the industry the margins are slim, and I think they are. The question is that how do you? I think first you want to start measuring things, and the good thing is there's a lot of disciplines here that I really liked, and then we just added some more, and then really make sure the employees get their buy-in by saying, hey, this is what we want to do and this is why it's good for you, right?
Okay, so say tomorrow I say, hey, I want to start measuring things. Am I looking at setup times, time it takes to print, and then what do I tell my employees as far as that? Because I think the first thing they're going to think from going from casual printing, just doing their thing every day, to, hey, Dylan wants to start like timing everything and seeing what it actually takes to do something. I
think it's what he just said, that you're in it. They're buying in too, because then they're going to get compensated better. It's not just you trying to go faster and make more money. They're also going to make more money. It's the whole company wide.
And, it's that leap of faith, that Indiana Jones leap of faith. I mean, you have to say it and then you have to back it up. So it's a little scary, right? I mean, I was scared here because I'm thinking, I'm not from this industry, but I just kept working and looking. I said, no, this will work. But you have to make sure that the employee understands that I'm here for you, and I'm here for a stronger company. We'll be more healthy, be able to survive downturns, not lay you off in December because I'm scared for January, so on and so forth. I think those are the things that you have to do, and I think also you have to put up where you put your mouth, right? I mean, if they say, well, if I get my productivity up, I'm going to get rewarded for that, and the answer has to be yes, of course, right? But it's really a partnership, right?
How do you go about that as a company, though, saying, especially like we all know the downtimes and stuff, to say, oh, guaranteed 40 hours, you have X benefits, you're this, whatever. Like, how do you go about that? Like, do you have a way to be like, well, I know I'm going to get X amount of work in before you say something like that? Or are you just saying that to be like, well, I guess it's what I want to stand behind and we'll see how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, we say we don't do layoffs as a company. We promise 40 hours a week. There are a couple of ways to navigate that. Of course, is not hiring in late October and letting attrition take care of itself. So, I think it's kind of, again, like I said, more and more of a leap of faith. But you could suffer anybody could suffer some losses with those statements. I think, it's one of those things that you can't say it and then all of a sudden backfire and say, well, not this year. Or so
right. Well, that's what I'm saying is I could be like all day long, be like, yeah, I want to offer the, full health and this and this and this. And then you get going into it and you realize like, damn, this is a lot. And I don't know if I should have offered as much as I did.
Yeah. But I think, even now more than ever, employee retention is important, and it's super challenging. And, them knowing that they have a secure job, like a 40-hour-a-week paycheck, that is never going to be below that, is one of the things that you can do besides the other stuff, like all the benefits that you talked about and all the benefits that we have now. And so I think that's really important. Can we change the subject to customer service for a minute? Because I have a question. Something happened here today.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
So, say you have a top customer, they give you lots of orders every month and an order goes wrong. So that happened here. It wasn't a very big order. This was maybe 100 pieces, but they don't complain often, but something, it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to turn out. They chose the Pantone colors. We mixed the Pantone colors, but the end result wasn't really anything we did. It's just like they received the shirts and they didn't really like them. What I decided to do was just say, we apologized and we said how we thought we could fix that in the future, but we said we're avoiding the invoice, no worries, and no questions asked. You know what I mean? Like that's just, that was my first thing I went to. I didn't even think about it. And so is that something that you do? I hated to do it because it's money, like it's a chunk of money on actually a very slow week, but it is what it is. And so is that how you go about things too? Even if because I know you're a heavy contract printer, is that the same sort of thing you would do? And also, Dylan, is that what you would do?
Dan?
Well, we have a 2% spoilage policy, and I would tell you we very rarely exercise it, only on thousands of pieces. So we pretty much stand behind all our work. The discipline we have may be a little bit different. I've voided in invoices as well, but what I really like is just to take the what if out of it is I want the garments back. So what we do is we send them UPS labels. We tell them, hey, let's go ahead and let us go ahead and pay to get those garments back. And we're going to inspect those garments. We're going to align with you. We're going to make sure we learn from our mistakes, and we're going to make it right. So we purchase the garments, we reprint. So, your method was good if the customer was happy. We really try to go that extra mile to say we want to make it right. It does avoid some, all shirts are bad when maybe only a few, right? So, it's just a really good validation. I've had clients that say, look, I just want this, replaced. And I say, I still want the garments back. I mean, I want to avoid the invoice. Which is a tricky area for sure.
It's funny because I learned that when I was in Georgia, that's what they did is they said, I'll pay the whatever fee to get the garments back because I feel like it's over 50. It's probably like, I don't know, I would say 60 to 70% of the time when a customer complains about something with the order and they say, I want my money back, or I want a discount or whatever with it, or I want these redone. If you say, hey, here's the shipping labels, I'll get these back. Once I get these back, I'll give you the refund. I feel like so many times that they just either stop talking or whatever, because I feel like they're just trying to get free shit. Like,
well, I think this
you know what I mean? They're like, oh, something's wrong with this, and then we're supposed to reprint, and then they're like, cool, now I have a double order or whatever, because we've had that before where people are like, these are unsellable. That's always what they say. They're like, there's no possible way I could sell these. The color is not right. It doesn't match this. And we're like, all right, well, we're going to send labels, get them back. And they're like, well, we can't do that because we already sold like 30% of them or whatever. I'm like, you just fucking told me these were unsellable.
Okay. But still, here's how my thinking on this is that one, it's a customer that places 10 orders a week at least, and they rarely reject or complain. This just happened. The order was specific to June, and it had to happen this month. It's for this month only, and today is the last day. They already had sold some, just like you said, but I think it was that somebody in the management was traveling, didn't see it until they got back and said, hey, this didn't turn out as good as I thought. What it was it was an ombre effect that didn't contrast enough. And so I think that I just said, look, you don't worry about it. We'll just get it next time. And so that was one of those where I
think you were 100% right in that. And I think that was a special circumstance. I'm just saying like an average customer that maybe orders once or twice a year, or just their first order or whatever, and they complain about it.
1,000%.
100%. I'm like, I want them back. Right.
So what you're talking about is the DNA of the customer. So, when we got busy, when COVID obviously was over, we all got really, really busy. We actually sat in a room and we offboarded probably about 40% of our customers because we really want a trust relationship. And the ones that we felt weren't a good fit, or there wasn't that trust built, so on and so forth. So, Andy, I would do the same thing on that circumstance for sure. But I would assume that's a good client. I could tell by the way you talked about them. They're a good client. You trust them in a sense that, you don't feel that there's any games going on, and you just want to keep them happy. I would do the same.
I think the important thing is that you have to, even though we didn't do a whole lot wrong, because we mixed Pantones that we were supposed to, it just didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. And I want them to be happy. And every once in a while, you just got to say, forget it. Like, don't worry about it. Void the invoice. Let's print the stuff next week. You know what I mean? And so I just think that that's an important, and it's hard because you're like, wait, this sucks because I have to void this invoice. I don't want to, I'm losing money, but are you really? Because I think you gain it, because the reply actually, once we told them what we were doing, was very positive. Yeah, it's very positive, and so you're right, though. They got to keep those other shirts. I didn't ask for them back in this case. I'm just like, whatever, don't worry about it. And, we'll get them next time. And so it'll be a win on the next order. That's kind of how I looked at it. And I thought it would be a fun or like an important thing to talk about, because I get caught up in sometimes like, wait a second, we shouldn't have to void this or whatever. And I guess that's the nuance, or that's the difference between some of your top customers to something like you were talking about, Dylan, the person's ordering once a year or whatever, where that happens. Then yeah, you ask for the shirts back. It's complicated, isn't it? I mean, and if I'm not in here, let's say I was gone and somebody else has to make those decisions. Like, do you have somebody that you can trust to make the right decision? Because if you make the wrong decision there, you're going to potentially lose an account. In fact, I saw yesterday on Instagram, one of my favorite customers, it's not our largest or anything, but just one of our customers that I like printing their stuff. I saw that they went on Instagram and said, hey, 2 new shirts, and they were wearing them and we didn't print them. And I'm like, that hurts. Like, what did we do wrong? And so I was
That's
like, okay,
the worst
you know
feeling,
what?
honestly.
It sucks. And so I thought to myself, okay, wait, I could ignore it. Maybe we did something wrong. Maybe they have a person that isn't, sometimes there's a change in who orders the shirts, and all of a sudden somebody else is in charge and they're going to their cousin or whatever. And so I don't know the real reason why we're not printing that order or why we didn't print those 2 orders, but I want to ask, and I want to message or whatever and say, hey, just want to know, like, did we do something wrong? And if so, like, what was it? So that I can fix that, next time, like, so that won't happen again, because I want to print your shit,
Every time that happens, I feel like it's like a girlfriend thing where you're like, you feel betrayed, but you're also like feel shitty emailing them, like you're whining. You're like, oh, why not me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's weird. I
don't think you would word it. I wouldn't word it like, why not me?
Well, obviously not. I'm just saying it stings. Like, you see that, and you, especially when it's a customer that you're kind of like buddy with, you know what I mean? Like, you feel like you had a good relationship. Like, I've had that recently where, there was this customer we dealt with for years, and then they just kind of like stopped getting orders for a while. And I emailed them and they're like, oh, we just got to the point where we really had to focus on price. And then they started price shopping, and like, we just weren't the best price or whatever, which you don't really want to race to the bottom, but you're also kind of like, oh, like, I thought we were fucking bloods, like, I thought we were ride or die. And then they're just like, oh, well, I'll go to someone else because I have to think about the bottom line or whatever. And it's kind of like,
that sucks.
I've got a question for you guys, and it's just been, talking, obviously, I was thinking this would be a good question to ask you guys. I find that the word screen print is used for almost everything, meaning that we're screen printers, right? But I've told my team, I said, we're garment decorators. Yeah. And the reason I did that wasn't because I don't like screen print and it doesn't pay the bills. But I really feel like the industry tends to want to hang on to what they're comfortable with or what they like. Nowadays, everybody's saying digital is going to take over. I disagree. But I think being open to different techniques, we do DTF, Digi, we do DTG. We have woven labels now with we bought sewing machines, and I feel like the industry sometimes is comfortable or maybe profitable. I more of a question to you guys, but I push the team to say we've got to be innovative. We've got to think about it. Don't think it's the next thing to take over. Think of it as another option for your customer. Right now, for DTF, it's just going nuts for us, and I think it's really good for screen print because if it's 9 colors, it's not. I just had a client say it's 9 colors, 9 pieces. I was like, oh, we'll DTF that. It's better for them on price, keeps it off the big press. So, do you guys? Obviously, you guys are really explorers of the industry, and see from my perspective, I guess, and I'm looking for yours, is that the industry struggles with change and innovation and fear and some things like that.
I just feel like a lot of people get stuck in their ways of, this is the only way to do this. This is what I'm known for. This is whatever. But I think here I've always said, I don't really ever say like a screen print shop. I usually just say we're like a print shop or a custom merchandising shop or whatever. Yeah. Because I do feel like all those things are tools. And that's goes back again to even like the small part of it is the debate between water-based and plastisol. It's like, we do both because it's not about what I want necessarily. It's not that I'm like, we're 100% a water-based shop or we're 100% plastisol. It's like, it's what the customer wants. Like, before any of the other things, it's like, how I look at it as every job comes in is, how could I best produce this job for the customer to get the result that they're looking for? Yeah. And the truth of it is like, nowadays, if you go to the mall or you go anywhere, like half of the shirts you see in there are a digital print or a DTF or whatever. It's like, go look outside your shop and see like what's actually selling right now and like what's happening. And the norm is that nowadays, I feel like so many people are used to the fact that whatever graphic they want it on a shirt. They don't necessarily care if it's a screen print or a water base or a digital or whatever. They just want the graphic on the shirt and they want it to not fall off. So like we should look at it as like what tool works the best for that client and what they're trying to achieve. So I think that's what people should look at going forward, is just like, I want to be knowledgeable on all the tools so that my shop can do whatever it is that my client coming through the door wants.
Agreed, 100% agreed. But I've seen that through the industry, a lot of debate and a lot of concern and kind of going back and forth. But like DTF, just so you know, we don't have a DTF machine. We do gang sheets every single day, and we get a big roll, and they come in every single day. But we sure have heat presses. We know how to locate it. I mean, they still need us, right? Does that make sense? If we decide to get a DTF machine, I think the technology is new and it's still. But I think diving into it, like you said, for the customer's benefit, and then really consulting them on what the best way to go is. I think those things, in my opinion, that's a key to success.
I think a lot of the people that like to bitch and moan about it are the people who just are scared to learn a new thing. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I've screen printed for 25 years and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, have you looked into anything else? Like, have you tried? Have you tested anything? Have you whatever? Like, we got into DTF, but we didn't get into it lightly. We didn't just pick one place. We didn't just be like, oh, Supercolor, and we're just going to order transfers or, any of these places. Like, I researched like 10 different places and we did tests with all of them. And we did prints. We ordered DTF and digital stuff and everything, like all these hybrid prints of actual prints that we were screen printing. And then we did them side by side and tested them and like, had the customer look at them and all these other things and picked what worked for us. So I think that's the thing, is you just need to educate yourself of like, this isn't as bad as you think it is. Like there's this stigma out there of, oh, it's this like transfer or digital thing. It's like, well, have you washed it 10 times? Have you stretched it? Have you held it? Have you tried different ways to post press? Like,
I think that maybe being scared isn't the right word. Maybe some are, that's probably true. But I think that there are probably shops out there that are in overtime with their printing presses. I mean, I started as a screen printer in my garage and that's what I did. There wasn't DTF. I didn't have an embroidery machine. I was a screen printer. And I think that if I had a business that was built around that, and that was my niche, let's say, and I was really good at it and I charged a premium and that's what I liked and I was busy, then I think I could just be a screen printer. I don't have to be an apparel decorator. I don't have to have embroidery or anything like that, like we do. But I thought that it was a nice, like it went well together. And so we added it a while back and I don't regret that decision or anything. I don't really know embroidery very well. But so I would probably describe myself as more of a screen printer just because I just don't know. I'm not really an embroiderer. I don't know how to run the machine. I can, but not like very well. And
I agree, but I'm also saying that if you get to that point, you need to realize that if you decide to just stick with screen printing and you're not looking at the trends in the industry and what's happening, then you can't bitch when like you go under because you didn't stay with the times. Like, yeah. That's the truth of it, is you can't keep up with the other people because you can't offer the shit that.
Yeah, but like Dan said, he doesn't think screen printing is going to go away ever. Maybe it loses market share, let's say, to DTF and other things, which it's probably will. That makes sense. Maybe I saw this thing. What was it? Print Tavo. I think they posted something like the biggest press in the world. It had like 65 stations.
Yeah, that was a rock on that old.
And it had like 100 pallets or whatever, or I mean, a bunch of colors. And I thought to myself, stupid, because why would you ever want, like, especially when things are like, if I have a color that needs, or a shirt, I should say, that needs 65 colors, I'm just, it doesn't even make any sense. Because wouldn't you just shift that to some other process, like a digital squeegee? Wouldn't you have just bought a digital squeegee because you're taking up way less space in your shop, way less of a press? It didn't make sense to me. I saw that it was kind of cool. It's sort of like that thing, like, oh my God, it blew my mind, like 65 station, that's crazy. But like, why would you buy that press? It just doesn't make sense to me. Not now. Like I would buy a 14 color or 16 color and put a digital squeegee on it.
Buy a Polaris or a digital squeegee or something.
Yeah, I just wouldn't buy that press. But I think that, I don't know. I think that I think it's okay to know your niche. And then if that's what you're good, don't deserve. Why diversify? It doesn't even matter. Like if you just go all in on what you're great at, because then you're going to be maximizing your profits. But you could get stuck one day if it, like you said, flips to not that. Like, oh, by the way, nobody's ever screen printing ever again. But that seems like pretty far down the road if that ever happens.
I think my thing is my preferred method is obviously screen printing. Like there's more art to it, there's more life to it, and all this other stuff. But I think what I would rather do is I would rather be a printer for, like, I'm more interested in the niches that we're in, like the markets that we're in. Like if I want to print for X comedian who's going to go on tour and he wants this certain print, I'm going to do whatever I can do to make it what he wants because I want to do that print. Or if it's a comic book thing and it's this whole crazy whatever, like if they're like, oh, I want to do this with embroidery added and puff and this, like, I don't care how I'm printing it. I just want to print it to where it looks cool. So like whatever process I can do, if that's hybrid, if that's whatever. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at, is I want to own a print shop that can just do rad shit. Like I don't really care necessarily the method. I mean, I prefer screen printing, but I just want to make cool stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's where, we're trying to keep our heads, be innovative, look at what's there, and focus on what the customer is looking for, right? The other thing that I find in the industry is diversification. I mean, we got into retail because I had a call from a big retailer, and they said, you do intertag prints, and I said no, but we can. So I bought a bunch of ASPs, and we're doing those. That now is almost the gorilla. It's 30-40% of our business is retail. We had no retail businesses at all. I just did it because I really felt like you don't know, sports stopped for a year and a half. Can you imagine what happened to this shop? And we had no business because we were 40% sports, right? So I felt like I learned my lesson. But also, it's like you said, do cool stuff for different types of industries. So we try to really look at the percentages between uniforms, promo, sports, and retail. Honestly, retail is a little scary because it's growing so much. So we're really working the other disciplines, if that makes sense. But we now do blank inventory for retailers, so they ship their containers directly to us. We put them in the rack. Of course, I'm a logistics guy, so we pick them. Then we build the order, and then we ship them directly to the retail stores. That was something we didn't do. I just think it's important to always be open to something new. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
From a technique to a different type of customer, and if they feel like you're open to innovation or trying something new, I feel like the customers are willing to go with it, right?
So as this business mindset and what you've done, and you're happy with the industry, and obviously things have picked up. What do you want to implement next? What do you feel like is next in your space?
We made an agreement that we're not going to do anything new for a couple of years, new as far as like expansion or anything like that, because we really want to get good at our discipline. So really our focus right now is we got the four legs, the four, different verticals, if you would. We're really trying to be innovative for those customers, but we just want to be profitable. We really want to run a good shop. We want to train up our people. So kind of the focus right now is, I told the team, let's not think about anything new as far as what's going to the company's next step for 2 years. It's been really good because I think, as you guys get to know me, I mean, they were fairly scared of me, I'm sure. Like, oh God, this guy, a lot of agendas. I think people also want to, feel that they're in a place that, not too much change. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So you just want to focus on systems and processes
and processes. Yeah.
To get everything dialed in.
Yeah.
Is there one in particular you want to focus on?
Labor management.
Over and
over and over, building up our team. And again, like I said, in the spirit of building them up, we have now very low turnover. We were at 100% turnover when I came on board. It was seen as kind of a job, an hourly job, but we were a little bit under market. And I don't think anybody felt connected to the industry or the company in the shop. I'm not talking about the front office, of course, but I think, in my opinion, the people in the shop are the most important employees you got. And you got to really take care of them. I'll share something that we just did yesterday. We had a captain on swing, and her mother had a stroke, and she was gone for 2 weeks. Very hard on the shop because key employee, and 3 team members stepped up and they just, they really owned it. And they, of course, really didn't want her to worry about things. And of course, screen print managers working late nights and all that. But when she got back, we met with the 3 employees and her, and we gave them gift cards and a letter and just, really congratulated them on really owning things. Right. And these are line employees. And, I left the meeting thinking to myself, those 3 employees got blessed. Right. They really felt rewarded for that. I would like to see them continue to grow, not just in the shop, but professionally, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's some things that I need to work on too. I think my next steps are to basically do some of that time tracking, but also do rewards with that as too. I think I just need to figure out what those rewards are. I think that's my biggest thing. I don't want to do too much too fast and then kick myself in the ass. So
this is just my opinion because I was in big companies. I think a monthly employee of the month becomes rote very, very quick. I think it needs to be tactical. Find something that somebody overachieved and then reward them or recognize them for that. I don't know. We don't do it public either. It was just me and the screen print manager and the captain and those 3 employees. So they feel like it's very personal. That makes sense.
Cool. I like that.
Nobody else in the shop knows about it except maybe now a few people, right?
Mm-hmm. So, Andy, do you want to do over-unders?
Over-unders, yeah. So I'm going to say I have 9 things over here, and you either say that it's overrated, underrated, or properly rated. So the first one is popcorn.
Underrated.
Are you a popcorn guy where you add like all kinds of seasonings and stuff? Or are you just like a extra butter popcorn guy?
Extra butter, salt popcorn guy for sure.
Okay. I remember growing up, my dad would always go buy the powdered mac and cheese, like a Kraft or something. And he would buy like a bulk package of them. I don't know what it is, like 50 boxes per case or whatever. And I remember he always loved to open one of those and steal the cheese packet out. And then he would pour that on the popcorn. And then eventually you would go try to have mac and cheese because you were starving and you would realize there was no cheese packet. Like you'd make the noodles and be like, what the hell? Like there's no cheese. I don't know. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I love popcorn. It can be almost any, like a kettle corn, white cheddar, lots of butter.
Now I know what to get you for
But-
Christmas is one of those like tins with like the 3 different
And they're okay.
popcorn.
I mean, like I like it fresh, I should say. Sometimes those tins you get during the holidays and you're like,
They're
"Ugh."
gross.
I know.
All right. Next.
Next we have air conditioning.
Well, we kind of talked about that in the beginning.
Yeah. Underrated for sure out here.
I'm a thick guy, underrated.
I know we were on a walk the other night and it was still, I don't know, almost 90 degrees and humid. And I'm like, what did they do 100 years ago? How could you, I would move. Like I would literally move from here. I couldn't do it. How did you sleep if it were like that at night? Like it was miserable. So air conditioning, one of the best inventions of all time.
Yeah.
Probably. Auto reclaim.
Underrated. We just bought the Lotus. Love it. Felt really sorry for the guys in the car wash, what it looked like, right? So I think we could have bought a larger unit, spent a little bit more money, and I would say it's definitely underrated for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you guys just got to auto reclaim with that many autos and that many people?
A year ago. I think it's about a year now.
And how are you liking it? You're saying now you should have got another one? Like, are you keeping up with screens?
We are, but just barely. We do 300 to 400 a day, probably closer to 4. So should have bought a faster one, a little bit more bells and whistles. I was feeling a little cheap about it. We hadn't done it before.
Right.
I don't think it's a bad machine. I think it's great. Depends on your budget, right? So we're happy with it, but boy, underrated for sure.
We know a guy, Mr. Mimosa, so I can hook you up if you want something that needs some serious output. I would say auto reclaim is one of the most underrated pieces of equipment in your shop. And whenever I hear somebody like the first week that they get one and it's installed and they're running it, owners say, hey, I'm running screens through because they like it. The quality of life just changes and it blows your mind that you're like, wait a second, I just ran 100 screens through this thing and they're clean. and it was actually okay. Like it wasn't such a brutal, awful job. And so, yeah, I think massively underrated. Next, we have Tesla.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm an Elon Musk fan, so underrated for sure. I love the car. I have a Tesla. It's awesome for sure for me.
I want to see that fight. Did you see that George St. Pierre is on Elon's side now as a trainer?
I did not, but I love all the memes. First of all, like I like the
Dan, have you heard about this? How Elon's going to fight Mark Zuckerberg?
Oh, you're kidding.
No, it's real. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So GSP, like, Hall of Fame UFC fighter, is going to help train Elon for fighting in this event.
The thing is there's such a thing as weight class. And so I don't know how that's going to work because that's real.
Dude, Elon's going to destroy him.
He's
I don't
older.
think Zuckerberg should do that. That would be a bad thing for him.
I thought that if Zuckerberg loses, then that's okay because people kind of think that he may already. But if Elon loses, like he's not cool anymore. Like he's definitely going to have to go to SpaceX and fly the fuck out of this like Earth because like everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, you got your ass kicked by fucking Zuckerberg. Like you're not cool." All right, next he
has to win.
I know he has to win. He has more to lose, in other words, I think, than Mark. Next, we have a personal assistant.
Oh, underrated, 1,000,000%.
I can't use one. So I'd say for me, overrated. I have an admin team here of 3 people, and we just work as a team, and they help me. I went to a company where there was 2 personal assistants sitting outside my door, and I didn't know what to do with them. The owner told me I let one go, but I still struggled with the other employee. I don't know. I would rather work with the team and have an admin that's available when I need it. And as long as that's the case, I feel like, I'm not the king or anything here. I want to be part of the team, if that makes sense.
I agree with that, but I don't know. I guess it's how you define personal assistant. Like, I feel like if my team, I don't know. I feel like the first time I considered someone a personal assistant was when I basically handed them my emails and said, I need help with this. I need someone to tackle these for me. To me, that was a personal assistant, but now they're like a full-on customer service person that I just say, hey, for me, it's kind of like low man on the totem pole does like the running around, but I don't know. That's what it is to me. Like, I don't have someone who's just sitting here being like, here's your coffee, Mr. Gilligan. But
maybe that's what I was thinking. When you said personal, that is kind of like, what do you need, Dan, to, in the morning?
Yeah.
I don't need that at all.
I think I mean that. Yeah, I think that's where the question was. Like,
that's what Andy wants. He wants someone to be like, here's your lotion. And
well, wait a second. I mean, I think that they're underrated. And I think that, there's such thing also now as a virtual personal assistant, which could probably be really helpful. But I've really considered it. I don't know. So I've never had one, so I don't know what it would feel like or be like. And so it could be terrible. But I guess not having one, I think that they're underrated because I think I really want one or possibly even need one. Next, I have travel.
Underrated. What was the favorite place you went? You said you did a ton of traveling.
Favorite country is Vietnam, for sure.
Why? Just the scenery and the culture, or?
I probably got connected with the culture. I went in 1988 when it wasn't very popular to open a first office for a company. And, I got way too many stories about that, but you just become really connected with the people. I really like the culture. They've been through a whole lot. It's a beautiful country. The people are just great. And I have a lot of personal friends there as well.
Good food too.
Incredible food. Yeah.
Next, we have credit card rewards.
I'm interested in Dan's reaction to this.
I'm not sure how to even categorize this, but I love them. So that's the one perk that I keep in my back pocket, and everybody knows about. But we do purchases on my business card, and I like to, I get some off-road hobbies and stuff like that, and it's nice to pay for a rebuild once in a while.
I was going to say, because we brought this up in our personal chat together, but what do you do with the reward? Is it go back into the business? Does it go in your pocket? What does it go to?
So it is a personal perk of mine. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I probably feel embarrassed to say it, but I just feel like
that's what I do.
Yeah,
I'll say it. It's like free money for me.
Yeah. I figure there's got to be some perks to ownership, right? So I take that one.
Right. Next is spinach.
Overrated.
Flat line. It is what it is.
It's just, yeah.
I don't know. I eat it every day. I love it. Underrated. Come over. I'll make you some spinach. It'll like change your life. You'll love it.
Maybe.
And last we have humility.
Underrated.
Yeah. Why?
I ask for that, not in a prayer sense, but just, I always remind myself, it's important to be humble. I mean, it can happen to all of us, right? We think we're pretty bitching, and usually trouble happens right afterwards.
Mm-hmm. I've actually personally been struggling with a lot of that lately, and just the things in my life with that. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll say underrated.
Agreed.
I'm with you guys. Underrated. So Dylan, there were some listener questions. Yeah?
There were quite a few listener questions for you, Dan. So let me try to navigate these a little bit. Mark Sportswear says, how do you offer commission to any outside sales force? How large is your sales force?
Yeah, that's the beauty of contract. By the way, contract isn't the best or worst. It's just who we are. But our sales force is our customers. So, we deal with a lot of promo companies. I say that sometimes to some of my best customers. I said, hey, you're our sales force. And that is really a partnership. So we choose not to go out and sell garments and art and all that, but we want to provide the best backup for them and be able to deliver the product. So they are our sales force.
Do you not have salespeople to try to get more contract customers?
I'm it. So, we really try to be picky, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I try to work with I just got a contact from Sanmar, and they come, Sanmar is great with us. They recommend us a lot because Reno's right here with their warehouse. And, but I want to make sure it's a fit. I don't go at it from a sales. I really go at it from, is this a fit? How can we help you? And, we work it from there.
That was something you said earlier that I had in my mind to go back to, and I never did, was you had mentioned at one point post-COVID that you got rid of 40% of customers that you had? Were they just shit customers, time suck customers? What was it?
Yeah, but it wasn't just price or size, because you think that's, we're making money, or are they too small? But those are factors. But I think really the fit. And we really, we had some customers that over the years, it just wasn't a fit. We weren't able to. We talked about damages. I mean, how many damages, there's some customers that everything's a damage. And the question is that, how is that sold to the customer? What were the expectations? Those type of things. So when they're our sales force, let's be honest, there's good salespeople and there's people that, maybe struggle. We also try to educate our customers, but some are just not open to that. So, I guess the main thing is there's a relationship, there's trust built. And we have some, very small customers we kept because we felt that was there.
Okay. Mark had another good question too. How long and involved is your training for new hires?
We could do a lot better at that. We do an orientation. We do the OSHA thing. I go in with the executives and we introduce ourselves and we tell our story. And then we probably don't do so great from there. We get them into the department and we train them on the functions they're going to be doing, and they get a shadow for a week or weeks. But I've always thought that, working them through, we just don't have the time or the resources. Maybe that's an excuse, but I'd love to see them move around the shop and really learn multiple disciplines. What does art do, and how does this? And we've talked about it. We've just never implemented that.
I don't know if we really got into this too much, but Matt at Relentless says, what's your niche? What's your ideal client?
So maybe I misunderstand. You didn't ask the question, but niche, meaning that
what are you going after sports teams? Are you going after the schools? Are you going after bands? What is your ideal contract customer giving you as far as apparel types?
So the owner that I bought from, his name was Dave Olson, and he felt that it's really important to have verticals balanced. So, for example, we could take on 50% of the shop in sports tomorrow, but it would disrupt. Sports is its own DNA, right? So what we're trying to do is try to limit those four. We look at them and we push certain growth areas that we think we have capacity. So I think I repeat myself, but retail, sports, promo, and uniforms. We right now are pretty heavy retail, so we're really trying to work on. In fact, we've just landed a sports account, and that starts on Monday. And sports was down to like 16%. East Bay got bought out by BSN, and when that happened, we were the East Bay's West Coast solution. So right now, we've got all these poly dryers and the auto numbering systems and all sorts of stuff, and we're light there. And so, but if you said, do I want to grow sports? The answer is, well, why? We just want to be diversified in our product offerings, if that makes sense. So I've been pushing sports.
Midwest Shirt Company says, what about the business keeps you up at night?
Finances. It's a very expensive business, capital intensive. Making sure. I think I've come to a comfort level where I think being financially disciplined will allow me to sleep at night. And it's very easy to get kind of uber excited about something new or doing, but just really tempering that with a plan and not over capitalizing the business.
Elite Inc. says this kind of ties into that. Total gross revenue up or down from last year, and by how much? And the only reason why I asked that, like, I definitely don't want specifics. But I feel like for me and for a bunch of people I know, like, people don't necessarily like to be vocal about this, but like, it's been a really weird year, like 2 years. I feel like it's like, and I've said this a bunch of times, like, it's really busy one week and then it's crickets the next week. It's really busy the next week. And it's like, it's this weird up and down. Like, have you seen that as well?
Yeah, not people talk about it. We'll grow about 50% this year. So that's no, I'm sorry. We're going to grow. We grew 50% last year. We're going to grow about 35% this year. Sorry. But we thought we were going to grow more. The first 4 months, I think we're in a recession. Nobody wants to talk about it. But for example,
agree.
It just is what it is, right? Especially promotional items. We were doing a lot of stuff for Google and Facebook and those things through distributors, of course. We don't, not directly, but that business is way off. So it was pretty scary. I mean, we lost a good chunk of money. If the other decorators have as well, it's the first 3 months I was, not sleeping super well at night because I was thinking, hey, but we started coming back in May, and we're really rolling pretty good right now. That slow period in the first of the year scared me quite a bit, but we'll do fine overall. And again, we expanded. I'm not sure I brought it up, but in November we went from 25,000 square feet to 50, and we bought a bunch of equipment and did those things. So we have more capacity. We also didn't really think it would take us that long to kind of get up to capacity. It's not as much the machines; it's really training the operators. Obviously you have more capacity, you need more customers. So, but we feel like we've kind of caught up with ourselves now.
Nice. All right, Andy.
Quick takes. The first question is, what do you miss the most about childhood? And today I would tell you, for me, it is no back pain. I'm just going to go with that because my back's hurting today even more than usual. But yeah, that's what I miss. How about you?
Miss about childhood? Wow, that's a interesting question. I'm 59, so I guess I miss a little bit the idea that there's a whole lot of runway in front of me. Because it gives you more flexibility. As you get older, you can't, I always say you can't pivot like you used to be able to do. So I can't take chances, I guess, like I used to be able to.
You feel like you took a good chance going from the life you had before to the screen printing industry?
Yeah, my wife would tell you I thought she was going to have a heart attack for sure, because there's a lot of comfort. But that's my last one. I always tell the team, don't worry. Our intent, just so you know, is not to sell the business, but to try to, in some form or fashion, which I'm still struggling with, is, turn the company over to the employees. So, but this is my last straw as far as that goes, for sure.
Hell yeah. Let's see. Something random that brings you joy.
I'm kind of a nut for off-road riding motorcycles. So I still race, desert race, and it's, so everybody in the shop thinks I'm nuts, and I will break another bone for sure. But it's just the adrenaline. It's just the thing I love to do. So, it's probably not super rational, but I just do it anyways.
Are you just doing like dunes and stuff, or are you doing like hill climbs, or what are you doing?
I've done enduros in Texas. I lived in Texas for a long time, and also in Northern California. But here is desert racing, which is worse because it's high speed, right? So it's 100 miles, takes you 5 or 6 hours. You're with about 500 riders, and it's dusty as can be and rocky, and it's a little irrational. But every time I'm done racing, I think I'm too old for this, and then I sign up for the next race. So
hell yeah, you do.
Yeah.
All right.
If you could change out one piece of equipment at your shop, what would it be?
I don't know, change out. I'm disappointed with the DTG machines. I've got 2 brothers. It's very limited as far as 100% cotton and so on and so forth. I'm not sure that change out is the right thing, but I learned my lesson in trying to focus on one thing. Kind of that's why I asked you the digital thing is I think you just need to be open to change and options and not be, too focused on one silver bullet. So, but those underperformed for sure. My expectations.
So you would just kill off that department or just get different
something else?
I'm hoping that DTG and, we do digital vinyl and things like that. I hope over time that probably goes away. Maybe being too honest, but it's just, it's too segmented. I hear a lot of people say that's not my thing. I think I know why they say that. It's,
I think that people's biggest headache with all of that is pre-treat.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, I should have brought that up. I hate how to pre-treat it and not get that square. And, it's just a big pain in the butt.
They got pampered a little bit with DTF, not having to pre-treat or anything.
I love DTF. It just, no weeding with the vinyl. You got to weed. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. When I saw the DTF, it's, there's definitely, we're not selling the DTGs to your question, but, I tend to steer customers a little bit away from it now.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you're watching, reading, or listening to right now that you really like?
No, I was interested in the digital squeegee and I like that concept. So I keep an up on it. But again, I like that idea. I just scared of a $250,000 unit to plug onto a press. But I keep watching it.
Andy?
All right, Dan, what is for dinner tonight?
I don't know. The wife always surprises me, but she's great. She cooks every evening, so I wouldn't know.
What do you think it is?
What do you want?
What do you want it to be? Manifest it, Dan. Come on.
My favorite is beef ribs. She does them really good. She bakes them, and big chunky meaty beef ribs are great with a little salad, and I'm happy.
Well, I'm hoping you get beef ribs tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
Well, thanks for coming on with us, man. We super appreciate it. You seem to have a really awesome thing going, and I'm glad that you decided that after everything you went through in life, that screen printing was where you wanted to land.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I see you guys. I've also committed to kind of going to some of the trade shows, definitely kind of want to network. If you don't mind, I'll ship you those. I'm not a big secret guy, so, I'll send you, both of you, those scheduling tools that we have in regards.
I would love that.
Oh yeah. Thank you, man.
It's, I would say your shop's going to be different in regards to how you do things and so on and so forth. But I think, being able to have something that has metrics you can play with, but you can adjust those. So
I would love that.
Yeah, I'll ship them for sure to you.
Thanks, dude.
Dan, thank you. Nice meeting you. And this was fun. And we'll see you later.
I guess we'll see you at the next trade show, Long Beach. Maybe?
Long Beach. Yeah.
For sure. We'll be there.
Okay, sweet. Thanks, dude.
All right.
We'll see you later.
All right. See ya.